Good to see you, sir. All right, any additions or deletions?
No, sir.
All right, any announcements and reports?
No, sir.
Very good. Then we'll, approval of the minutes. You've all been issued the minutes. Are there any changes, corrections, deletions to the minutes from February 27th? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the minutes for February 27th as submitted.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. All right, one item on the agenda tonight, old agenda item. Item PW 23-02-02, design guideline updates for Highway 54 Overlay District. And with that, we'll turn it over to our illustrious staff.
Thank you. I'm going to go through this very much like I did the previous night. Shouldn't take too long, and hopefully these all look familiar because these were all the comments that you all made at the meeting. We added, for example, the traffic calming reference there into the vehicular circulation and urban parcel access. And then we added that clarification language to the front yard setback that says up to 15 feet closest to the building, may be used for outside dining or entry courts. The next change was clarification to the site furnishings. This is where we added, they shall be provided as appropriate, meaning that some places they may not all be, every type may not be appropriate. And then we made the shall statement, or the should statement, into a shall statement for those crosswalks to make sure that they were highly visible. Here we made, we updated everything shows in red so you can't exactly see it, but the title clarification made sure that that was consistent throughout the document. We numbered, I had caught actually a numbering error, and then we made this, the reference to the painted steel, we changed that from a shall to a may, so that we didn't somehow imply that every building had to have painted steel. Here was a good catch from you all. We had totally missed the fact that we didn't reference architectural canopies, so we have added that in. And then that first sentence of that second paragraph had originally been cut, and we added that back in so that there's still some kind of touching point for how these canopies should look. We changed the tree inches at planting to the same that it is in the city, throughout the city at 3-inch calipers. And then there was, into the lighting section, I did some research on Kelvin and found that daylight is 5,000 Kelvin, so that no color temperature of the light should be any brighter than daylight, which surprised me to find out that there is actually colors out there that are brighter than daylight. We caught, Laura actually caught this, you know, the original language sort of allows the interpretation of painted signs because it's parallel to the face of the building, but she rightfully said, you've got to make it obvious, otherwise people will miss it and question it. So we added this caveat language saying, including signs painted onto the surface of the building. And then the way that a lot of the language was, it seemed to insinuate that all signs had to be internally illuminated with reverse channel lighting letters, and if you've been out there, there are many that are not. You know, in fact, there's later on in the ordinance, it even talks about gooseneck lighting for signs. So we changed that from a shall to a may. And then this was the big change. We added the canopy edge mounted sign type. And you can see there, it refers to the definition of what it is. So it's mounted to the top edge of the architectural canopy. Wanted to make sure that we're not confusing people and saying that they can have signs written on top of their canvas canopies. That is not okay. And we also stipulated that they can only be externally illuminated. I know you all had wanted to make sure that they were clear and legible and illuminated, but we kind of made the call here and see if you guys support it, that it really should only be externally illuminated and not have internal lighting on top of. It might get a little bit too busy. Now that next paragraph is the same type of paragraph as the other signs. It talks about how to measure the canopy, the size of the sign, and it talks about no more than 75% of the overall length can be dedicated to that sign. And we also added in here, and hope you guys, if you wanted to talk about this, is that it can only be mounted horizontally. I was having visions of the Rialto, you know, major theaters and whatever, and I didn't think that that was the look that we were going for. So your support, I'm seeing head nods, okay. We added lots of clarification language because you would be surprised at how many people push back against staff on the total amount of square footage. So it may seem a little bit redundant, what we're saying here, but we want it to be very, very clear that basically your area of your edge-mounted sign plus the area of your wall sign equals your total sign area. It's not as if you have 150 square feet of wall sign and 150 square feet of canopy. And so that's what all of that language is saying there. We also set the maximum height of these letters to be 2 feet. I think Mr. Rittenauer, you made the point, if it's just right there on the canopy over you, do we really need 4-foot tall letters? And so in every tenant size, they're all limited to 2 feet. And then there was some discussion about increasing the size of that, sort of that there's the 3 tenant levels. There's the really big box, then there's the smaller big box, and then there's the inline tenants, and that medium size. We changed that so that those letters should not be taller than 36 inches. It was originally 24, and our research shows that the signs that are out there for these inline tenants, they're all taller than 24.
Now you say you got a lot of pushback from folks. Is it for those last two?
No, it's for the total area of
Okay, just the total
wall
area,
of signage.
Gotcha.
They want, it's sort of ingrained in people to think that more signage is better signage. I think most of us recognize that in the days of Google Maps, signage isn't necessary as maybe as it used to be. But nonetheless, what we deal with more often than not is people interpreting that to be different and saying that they get 150 square feet of wall sign per building frontage, and they have 2 building frontages, and so now they want 300 square feet. And so we're constantly trying to educate people on what it means, and so that's what I meant by that. There was one comment that Mr. Chris sent to us, and I think he was trying to be helpful, but I didn't. Did you all get that email? Did you print that email out, Laura?
I do have that.
You're usually better about that than I am. He had wanted us to add some language that said that color renderings were due at the time of conceptual site plans being submitted. That would then require architectural elevations to be done at the same time as conceptual, and we don't do that anywhere else in the city. And so I was hoping that with some explanation, y'all would agree that we're not going to require elevations and conceptual site plans to be done, require them to be done at the same time. If we added that language in, it would have required us to do it at the same time. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we should add it in.
Yeah.
That didn't. I'm not in support of that.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you. And so with that, I believe all of the corrections that were brought up have been remedied. Were there any other that were caught that we could look at tonight with you all? Ooh, that's a good sign. That meant that we did a good job. Good job,
Yeah, you
Laura.
guys did. You did
Yep.
a good job.
And it takes many eyes, you know. As soon as I sent that out, Laura came in. She goes, "I think you missed something." And so I'm glad that it takes a team. So this is scheduled for you, the public hearing on March 27th. My plan for that presentation is to just go over the highlights and not dig into the weeds like we've done. It is right now tentatively scheduled for the public hearing, the City Council, April 20th. However, that meeting has ended up with a lot of public hearings, and it's a very heavy agenda. So we may, since this is the one of the few things that isn't actually tied to a strict timeline, it may get bumped to the first meeting in May. I will let you guys know as soon as that has been finalized.
If that happens, will we still have the meeting on the 27th?
Yes, that has been advertised, sir.
Okay.
We have I believe we have
With a
other
con-
items.
Okay.
At the moment, we have a conceptual site plan for review that night.
Okay.
I had one thing, the canopy edge mounted signage, are we saying that we say shall be externally illuminated only? We do want them to illuminate it? Are we making it mandatory that it's illuminated? Gotcha.
That was my understanding.
I think, yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
we need to have it illuminated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think most of them will want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was very brief, but I think it was important for us to really go through and make sure that we're being very transparent about the whole process and exactly what, and I know that I really appreciate y'all being attentive to the details, because it is, that's tough, and really got in the weeds, and y'all stuck through with us, so thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
Sure, thank you.
All right, anything else for the good of the order?
Yep, just one or two things. I know Laura and we just touched on it right when I came in. One of the things I know we really didn't pull into this is bike, golf cart, and I know that's one of the things we brought up last meeting is that part of the general kind of recreation, or do we look at that as part of the general?
Okay, so
Is
there
that a better
were-
place for it?
I think because it was never really, I mean, what was referenced in here was the type of racks and whatnot.
Right.
And that it is required, but I think that the general ordinance is the best place for
Yeah.
both cart parking requirements and bike requirements, so that helps us everywhere in the city.
And I think that's the best place to put it also. I think then it's comprehensive, it's all encompassing of everywhere that anything would be. Here are, either the areas, here's what we need to take a look at, here's how they're put together, just all of that, and it's probably better to have it on the general.
And as soon as we know what the steering committee for the Unified Development Ordinance project is set in stone, we'll get some meetings advertised, and I will notify you all, because I think even if you're not on the committee, it would be very helpful if you all plan to come to one or two of those meetings, because really you guys deal with this much more and on a regular basis than most anybody else in the city. And that would be very helpful.
Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, then we'll adjourn this meeting. We are adjourned.
Very good. Thank you.